At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Hey, what's going on? This is Ricardo with the Code 7 Podcast Network, and this is going to be episode 555 of Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Live Them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a shout-out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast, whether you are on Circle, Facebook, or Patreon. Thank you so very much, but also especially all of you who are listening, watching, supporting, and sharing. I appreciate you all. So this episode is going to be it's going to be a different episode, a special episode. This is actually going to be round 41 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. This is the audio from that live broadcast. It was an excellent one, and that's why I want to play this one or have it be part of Within the Trenches podcast, because the folks that I was with, first and foremost, my good friend, Joe Serio of the 360 Dispatcher. He runs a 911 leadership training event out in Texas at the Mayan Ranch, and that is in Bandera. He's been doing it for a long time. Over the years, I've had the privilege and honor of going there and instructing as well. I do the closing session. I do an Imagine Listening session with all of the attendees there, and it is really a unique training experience. It's not like anything that you're going to get anywhere else, and that's what this episode is about. This is for anyone who is looking at getting into, or actually more so improving their leadership role. A lot of it is kind of confronting yourself, and a lot of different things. And again, this is 911 focused, but anyone can get a lot out of the conversation that you're going to hear in this episode. And again, that's why I wanted to put it on this episode, share the information. And if you have any questions or anything as it pertains to Mr. Joe Serio or the 360-degree dispatcher, you can go to joeserio.com, and that's Joe, and then the last name Serio is Serio. That is joeserio.com to find more information on everything that he does, as well as the training event out in Texas. So without further ado, here is episode 555 of Within the Trenches, True Stories from the 911 Dispatchers Who Live Them. Oh yeah. Welcome back. Again, this is round 41 of the Dispatchers Roundtable. This live broadcast is sponsored by InDigital, a leader in next-gen core services, and a big shout out, as always, to subscribers of the podcast, whether you are on Circle, Patreon, Facebook, whatever the hell it is. Thank you very much. And especially all of you who are here watching, listening, supporting, and sharing, because I wouldn't be able to do everything it is that I do if it wasn't for all of you. So thank you for the continued support. I appreciate you more than you know. So as I said, this is a new round 41, And we're going to be talking about something that I've mentioned, many times throughout the last few years, and that is the 911 leadership training event out at the Mayan Ranch in Bandera, Texas, that is hosted by the 360 dispatcher and run by Mr. Joe Serio. So there's a lot of different things that happens there, but we were talking recently and we wanted to come together to have some attendees that have come on and other folks, but also have Joe come on as well and just kind of talk about this unique experience. Because honestly, whenever a new round of sessions goes out, it's already sold out, man, like a year before. That's how crazy it is. And awesome. So we wanted to do this and just do it as a round, have panelists come on and everything. And if you have any questions at all, I know a lot of you are probably still at work right now. So if you have any questions or anything, whether you're watching here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or X, or over here on this side on Instagram, any questions that you might have, please throw them in the comments. We will answer those as we are going along. But let's go ahead and jump right in and let's bring up my good friend, Joe Serio.
Hey.
What is going on? I like the Fat Albert thing. All right off the bat.
Not really what I was going for, but if it works, hey.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
I dig it. So welcome, dude. How's it going?
It's good. It's every time I promise myself I'm going to slow down, it doesn't really happen. So it's still a little hectic, but
why? I was going to say, why even promise that?
I know.
It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
You and I end up sending messages to each other. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. What are you doing? Like, all right. Or I'm out there, like, out in Texas and we're running around doing a bunch of stuff. And no, it doesn't slow down, but it's all good things, man, that are going on and continue to go on. And you've got a lot of stuff too. And I'm excited to have you on this round again, round 41 of the Dispatchers Roundtable, to talk about this unique experience. So for those who are watching and listening who might not know who you are, which I don't know how they wouldn't, but those who might not, a little background on yourself, please.
A little background. Well, the background that I share are all things that I bring into the ranch and to classes. So first, I grew up in a family of 14. I'm the ninth of 12 kids and mom and dad, which obviously, like all of our families, formed a lot of how I see the world, see myself, and all the rest. And if I hadn't grown up in that family, I wouldn't be doing the ranch the way I do it. I wouldn't be doing keynotes the way I do them or my other classes. And that was all formed because it was such a huge group of people that was involved and interested in all kinds of things. We had all kinds of music in the house. We had to stay on our toes constantly, right? So, at the ranch, we do a lot of laughing. There's a lot of joking. There's a lot of banter and back and forth. And a lot of that came from growing up in a big family. You had to stay on your toes. And so when I was in college, I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I opened up the course catalog, shut my eyes, and put my finger down on the page, and it came up with a class about the Soviet Union back in 1983, 84. And so I started studying Russian language, ended up going to Moscow, lived in Moscow for 6 months, and then I got a job at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And eventually they said, hey, how would you like to go to Moscow to work with law enforcement in the organized crime control department of the Soviet National Police? So I did that for a year. And I started working with cops from about 1987 or so. And I just started going to Moscow all the time. They sent me to Shanghai to do summer study programs in China. So for 6 years in my 20s, I did a triangle from Moscow to Shanghai to Chicago, which was, pretty awesome. Tiananmen Square happened. I couldn't go back to China, so they sent me to London to study terrorism, which was very cool. And, but when push comes to shove, it was not really the things I wanted to do. Like, it was great. And I wanted some kind of international life. But I never wanted to work at a government agency for 30 years. Like, I'm not that guy. I can't do a 30-year stint in the same agency working 8 to 5 or whatever. I'm not wired for it. So I moved over to Moscow. After all that was done, I finished my master's degree, moved to Moscow, and I was the director of the Moscow office of the world's leading corporate investigation and business intelligence firm. So my job was investigating the Russian mafia, was keeping our American and European clients, corporate clients, out of trouble. And look, I mean, the shit got real. Like in the first week I was the director over there, our client, the telecommunications giant Qualcomm, had their 26-year-old employee arrested by the KGB. And my job was to keep tabs on him and to help get him basically out of trouble, out of jail, and out of the country. So it was that kind of thing. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. So it was, look, next to driving a cab in New York City, those two jobs were the most fun I've had. And so I finished my PhD and I had to make a decision. And look, the decision that we talk about, you know this very well. It's the kind of decision we talk about at the ranch. It's like, okay, well, what do you love? And what do you want to do? And do you have the nerve to go get that thing, right? So I had to do the same thing. And I was like, okay, I thought I was going to be a professor at a university. And then I had to sit down with a piece of paper and write out all the pros and cons. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with 18, 19-year-olds who come to class in their pajamas and don't do their homework. Right? I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with politics. I don't want to deal with being assigned to a committee that I have to work with on a topic I can't stand. Like, I don't want to do any of that stuff. Hold on a second. So I decide, okay, what is it that I love to do? I love to read. I love to do research. I love to teach. So I guess I'm going to have to become a speaker, which is what I always wanted to do, except I've never been that person to have no security, right? If I stayed at the university, I would have had security. I would have had tenure. I would have had everything set for the rest of my life. Except the downside was too down for me. So I went out and started speaking, and my first audiences were probation officers, because during the PhD, I was working at the Correctional Management Institute of Texas. And one of the things they did was said, hey, go to this ranch outside San Antonio, because we run a program there every summer on leadership for probation. So I started hosting that program in 2006 at the ranch. And I said, okay, well, this is cool, very interesting, whatever. Then fast forward a couple of years, I left the university and started training probation and cops. And during one of the classes, a dispatcher comes up to me during the break and says, I have to come to this law enforcement training because we're the redheaded stepchildren and we don't have enough training of our own and we have to come to these cop classes. I was like, oh, okay. There's a market niche that's just become apparent. So I started training dispatch, the Healthy Dispatcher. Adam, Tim, and I started the Healthy Dispatcher, ran all over the country for a couple of years. And it finally dawned on me in 2016 or 2015, why am I not using the ranch that I used to train at for probation to bring dispatch to Texas, to Bandera?
Right.
So 2016, we did the first ranch. We did one ranch and then realized it is ridiculous to do a ranch in June or July in Texas. It's like 120 degrees. And that's when we ran, when I was doing the probation ranches, they were in the summer. It was 100 degrees in the classroom.
Oh my God.
It was so bad. So then we ended up starting in 2017, programs in March and September. And so we started with 12 people. Okay. And then Adam and I went our separate ways around 2018, 2019. And just after COVID, it started ticking up hard and fast. So we got So I was figuring we'd do 25 to 30 people is kind of where we started finding ourselves. And right now we're up to 45 people, and that'll be the cap, but we've capped out at 45. As you said earlier, the March 24, September 24 programs and November 24 sold out a year in advance. The March 25 program sold out a couple months ago. So it's just been going gangbusters. So that program you mentioned, the 911 leadership training event, is the one that we do in March and September and November. So now we do it 3 times a year all the time. But we also this year launched the Transforming 911 Culture Workshop at the ranch for a week, where we just sit down and talk about culture. What does it mean? How do we change our culture? What's wrong with dispatch? What's right with some great comm centers? And how can we get more of that, right? So we started that ranch, which was awesome. So we just did it 2 months ago for the first time. And in February of 2025, we're launching our year-long, we call it the High Performance Academy, developing tomorrow's 911 leaders today. That launches in February with a week at the ranch and then goes online for the rest of the year. So the ranch has just become such a critical part of reaching people, of what we do, of creating community that has just a ridiculous impact on people.
Damn. It's, like I said before, it's a unique experience, and I feel blessed and honored to be able to continue to go back. Ever since I was there that first time, I've been going back, closing it out, but meeting so many different people and just learning from each other and seeing how all of these folks end up going from there and doing so many different things. Now, what I want to ask you before we start bringing people up here is, what makes this training event unique? It's not just the being out there and the ranch, but there's so many other things. Like, in your opinion, for those
Yep.
who are watching and listening, what makes it unique?
All right, Ricardo, I've been debating about whether to say this or not. And I'm going to say it, and I mean it, and I'm dead serious. The ranch is where miracles happen. And the miracle has less to do with instructors, has less to do with, all of that. It has to do with the decisions that the participants make about their own lives. The thing that they find at the ranch is permission to do something different, to change something they may not like about how their life is going or how they show up at work or anything, whatever. We've had relationships break up at the ranch. We've had relationships come together at the ranch. We've had people leave jobs. We have people go for promotions who've always been scared of promotions. We've had people clean out their garage for the first time in 10 years. We've had people lose weight. All kinds of things happen. So here's the thing about the ranch. So people read leadership program, okay? And they're like, okay, well, I'm just got to be sent to another leadership program. And the horses and the occasional armadillo and the peacocks and the deer and we have
And the rams and
the rams and the goats and the live music at the saloon. We have live music 3 nights of the week. All of those things are kind of like the lure, right? That they're the window dressing. And people get excited and they say, oh man, I want to go to the ranch. And what they don't understand is what's about to happen. And invariably, people come up to me at the end of the first day, after we've been through some pretty intense sessions on fear and emotional intelligence and resistance and stress and resilience. But we do it in a way that's highly personal. And the unique thing also, that like you're asking, is it's and this is something people have told me, it's done in a place of caring and safety. And if you can put together in any space, whether it's a house, a home, a family, a classroom, training, a comm center, if you can put together caring and transformation, caring and psychological safety, where if you talk about the worst things that happened to you in your life, that people aren't going to laugh at you. And not only are they not going to laugh at you, they're going to identify and relate with you, and they're going to get the nerve to dig in and say that thing that's on their mind, say that thing that they've never said to anybody else before. And to me, that's what everything, ranch programs, my 6-month supervisor academy, my regular classes, my keynotes, it's all designed around that possibility that you can find something in yourself that either you buried a long time ago or you didn't think was there. And you realize that you can have, you can be, you can answer the question, what's possible for me in my life? And it's just a fun environment to do it in.
I fully agree, man. Fully agree. And just so that, I mean, we say this in the beginning, basically, when it's going on and throughout the week, is you get out of it what you put in. If you're going in and you're just like, I'm just here, that's what you're going to get out of it. But if you're really putting in, you're going to get a lot out of it. And you mentioned, relationships breaking, others coming together, and everything. All of these different things. The reason those things are happening is because what happens throughout that week is that people are really confronting themselves in a way and
Yeah.
learning from each other and facing whatever fear might be there. And that's why a lot of these powerful and maybe hard things happen, because people are connecting with themselves.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
someone that they haven't been connected with in a while.
Yes.
And that happens, man. And that's what I love about being out there, because you can even identify some folks in the beginning who are just kind of like, oh, I'm here. And then, like, even sometimes at the end of the first day, you're like, oh shit, like this is a different person. Like, this is awesome. And everyone just starts to come together. And it always kind of hurts though at the end, right? Because
Yeah.
it's almost like you're going into, let's just say, for example, high school, and you're going in for that first time, and maybe there's people you haven't seen, or people you don't know, and you're just like, oh man, what is this going to be like? But then at the end of the week, it's like graduation, because now you're like, where do we go from here?
Yes. Yeah. And that's, it's kind of an issue. I don't mean in a bad way, but it's a challenge
Mhm.
because all of a sudden, look, if you learn something, if you know something, you can't unknow it. Now the issue is, are you going to do something about it, or are you going to live knowing that this other thing is out there and you haven't done it, or you're too afraid, or you whatever the thing is, or you
Mhm.
convinced yourself, oh no, that's not me. I'm not that person. It's like, well, yeah, you are. One of the things that we do, as you know, is on the first night, people all travel, they gather on Monday, and then on Monday night, we do a fairly intensive icebreaker so that people are getting comfortable with each other. They're starting to know each other by the time they hit the classroom on Tuesday morning, by the time they hit the saloon on Tuesday night. And then we do kind of low grade, like cell phone karaoke, right? And then on Thursday night, we have live music karaoke. And if people who say, I will never get up and sing, are up there singing.
Mhm.
Why? Because we've got psychological safety. We have people we know. We have people we've been sharing the most delicate, sensitive things with for the whole week.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of folks who in the beginning are just like, nope, I'm not going to be getting up there. I'm not going to be getting up there. And you're right. By the end of it, because there's so many people that are there with you, and everyone's cheering you on. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're there to have fun. And even if you think, like me, I don't think I have a great voice, but I've gotten up there. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it, And I'm up there, and people are like, yeah, and you feed off of that energy. I remember a few classes ago, a couple of years ago, I remember there was someone who wanted to get up there, but they weren't really sure if they were going to. And there was another attendee who came, and I'll never forget this because he put his arm around him and he goes, "Come on, man." He goes, "Let's be great together." And he went up there and he killed it. And we were like, "Why were you afraid?" Like, damn, like you have a voice. Like that was awesome.
You know,
And
you can,
it's moments like that.
yes, and you can link it to the whole point of the program. Who's going to be a leader?
Yeah.
Nobody, almost nobody wants to stand up as the first person to do karaoke. Well, that's exactly what leadership is. You want to stand up when the odds are against you, when there's no clear path, when you get to define how the night is going to go. For example, Sugarland, Texas, they've sent a lot of people to the ranch. And one guy I remember, and I'll always remember, Brandon Stallworth. He's larger than life, big personality, big smile, big laugh. And he just got up. He got up as the first person. This is, I don't know, 2 years ago, maybe. He got up and was the first person out there to do karaoke. And the second person up was Josh, his colleague from Sugarland. And they both just lit the place up. And it was an amazing night. And you know what? You don't get amazing nights if someone's not going to step up. You don't get amazing comm center if somebody doesn't step up to do something different. If you want something different and you keep doing the same shit over and over, how are you going to get something different? At home, in life, food, diet, money, whatever. And doing something different is hard. Everybody hates change. I hear this all the time around the country. Oh, change is the most difficult. Yes. Yeah. So what are you going to do? You know, it's
Right.
You know, you've heard that hard thing, right? It's like marriage is hard, divorce is hard, choose your hard. Shitty comm center and a great shitty comm center is hard, great comm center is hard. Choose your hard. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
So basically,
what do you want to put your work into?
Yeah, and the bottom line for the ranch is that's what we do. We try to open you up to have more capacity, to have more agency, to choose that hard that you want to be, to dare to be great, to steal a phrase, to dare to be great.
Yes, there you go, man. Now that we've covered a lot of that stuff, I want to start bringing up some of the attendees. And the first one I'm going to bring up is someone who just joined, someone who just popped up there, and I see her smiling right now like, oh shit, I didn't think he was going to bring me up first, as she's scratching her forehead. The reason I say this, though, also is, and the reason I'm bringing this person up is because this person, to me, like, I've said this to your face. I am proud of you, like you wouldn't believe. This person ended up getting a scholarship to go and has been speaking all over the place since then, probably something she never even thought that she was going to be doing. And it's just been amazing. So the first person that I'm bringing up is our good friend, Juliet. Hello.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Welcome, Juliet.
Thank you. I will say I definitely did not ever picture myself as a public speaker. When I was 20, I actually passed out presenting to a classroom of 6 people. That's how like anxious and nervous I was about public speaking and how much I hated it.
Would never think that now because of everything that has happened. So bringing you up here, for those who are watching and listening, if you can give just kind of a brief background of yourself and your 911 experience and how you got to the ranch.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Juliet Brown. I'm a dispatcher in Western Massachusetts. I've been in dispatch for just under a decade, which is crazy for me to say. I feel old. Just turned 30. Don't want to talk about it. But so in August of 2021, I went to my first national conference, my first conference ever, really. I went to APCO in San Antonio. And I saw a woman that I recognized up on national stage speaking, Ann Camaro from Neshoba Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, oh my God, she's from Massachusetts and she's up there speaking. And I remember looking at the friends that I had just made at the conference. And I was like, we're going to be up on that stage speaking someday. I can feel it. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, we can do it. We're going to be up there speaking. And they were like, okay. And then I had applied for the 911 Wonder Woman scholarship shortly after, the fireworks scholarship, which is what brought me to the ranch in March of 2022. And I will say, I agree with Joe. It's definitely where miracles happen. It took that slight thought that I had back in San Antonio in 2021 and really gave me the permission and the tools and the resources to reach that. I started speaking 4 months later, at National NINA on the 911 Wonder Woman panel. And since then, I've now spoken about 15 or 16 times over the last 2 years. And I have 6 confirmed speaking engagements on the back half of this year. So really exciting, really
That's
cool.
awesome. Amazing.
Yeah.
And no passing out, right? So
No, and no passing out. And also last year in 2023, my center had Joe for the 6-month program.
Mm-hmm.
And I left that program with the thought, I remember looking at my coworker, and the last day he had us write down a long-term goal. And I remember looking at my coworker and I'm like, should I write it down? And he was like, write what down? And I was like, what I'm afraid to write. And he was like, yes. So my coworker Av was like, write it down. And it was to run a marathon by 2025. So over the past year, I was only planning on running 2 half marathons a year. And I've surpassed that, almost doubled it. And I've run 6 half marathons, with a full steam ahead, ready to train for a marathon for next year. So I left both programs with really cool goals that I've worked to achieve.
Very cool.
yes. Well done, my friend. Well done. And so just to kind of speak on your experience there that week at the ranch. I mean, what was that like when you were going into it? Because we had all met up, you and Sarah and I at the airport and everything. I mean, we were late that first night. We went to Whataburger super late, which I paid for later because I'm old and I have acid reflux, so that sucked. But either way, uh, it was a great experience, meeting up with you there and stuff, and then just the rest of the week. And the other thing too that was awesome about you is the fact that there were a couple days there where you weren't feeling that great, but you were pushing through, man, and you learned so much. But other than those pieces, like, what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So I actually went there with bronchitis, and I remember it was March of 2022, and I'm getting on the plane, and you saw us wear masks, and I'm like, don't cough, don't cough, don't cough. I gotta make it through security.
Oh man.
So yeah, some days I just did not feel well, because of that. But no, it was a great program. I previously was extremely shy with like a secret social butterfly side. And I feel like the week at the ranch really broke that out of me. I remember the first day when we were doing icebreakers, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to talk to these people. I don't like to talk to, like, I previously did not like to talk to strangers or really open up at all. But working with everybody and having good conversation and having the environment where we talk about uncomfortable things, but to work towards a solution really had everybody open up. And by the end of the program, I was laughing and joking with everybody and having a great time.
And I think you have some news about what you're doing this September.
Yes. So I'm actually coming back as a ranch instructor for the September leadership program. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That is really, really cool, man. That, you're, like you said, coming back as an instructor. There's a lot of folks that, we've heard there at the end. They're like, man, I would love to come back. And you were doing that. That's going to be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Looking forward to it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Looking forward to karaoke.
Yeah, that as well.
I didn't do karaoke last time, but maybe you guys can
Oh, well,
crack
you're going
that
to do
shell
it this
open
time.
this time.
Yeah.
Step by
Now
step.
that I
That's
said it in recording, it's going to happen.
one
Mhm.
step at a time. That's how this works.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yes, exactly.
You move from
And-
the half marathon to the marathon. That's all.
Well, so we're going to keep you up. Everybody that we're bringing up, we're going to keep everyone up here on the screen and such. So we're going to move on to our next person here. And I'm looking down. I can see some people looking at their camera. One person was just looking down. So I'm going to go for that person who was just looking down. And Corinne, hello.
Hello. You caught me.
I know. Yes. Usually if someone is like making eye contact, that's how it usually goes, especially when you're in a training class or something. Like, damn it, don't make eye contact. They're going to call on you. But,
Teacher rule.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I wanted to go with you first either way.
Sure, now you say it. I get it.
I know. So welcome. And if you could, state your name, a little brief background on your 911 history and such, and then we'll jump into your experience as well for the ranch.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Corinne Switek. I've been in the 911 industry for a little bit longer, 4 years. So I've been around, so I've seen some things, got some experience. So my center is located just outside of Chicago in the suburban area. So
right.
Here I am.
Well, excellent. And so, your ranch experience, what was that like for you?
Eye-opening and amazing. It was great. So I think the really cool thing for me was like there was that trepidation, right? So I was looking at it the year before and I had that like, nah, I don't think I want to do it. So I backed out, right? And it was that, nah, I'm not ready for it. So I think there was that culmination of this was really the right time.
Mhm.
And so everything does kind of come full circle. And I remember very vividly, and I actually took video of myself coming down that long path as you're going over the creek and like you're coming into this nothingness, right? So like there's nothing around and there's a sign like, and it said like horse crossing. And I'm like, are you kidding? Horse crossing? Like what? Like, and there's nothing around. And, I stayed in Austin like the night before and I'm like, this is cool. Like I'm going to get a cool break. And then I come down here and there's nothing. And I'm like thinking to myself, what have I gotten myself into? Like, so I just so vividly remember it. And then I'm like, I see the sign about hospitality and I'm like, oh no, this is not going to be what I need. And then I'll never forget the first thing I said to Joe that first night after the icebreakers. And, we talked for a minute and I'm like, yeah, I came down here on my own. I wanted to see what it was like. He's like, okay, so you guys are going to send people back down here? And I said to him like, well, if you're any good.
Oh, dude.
Who says that? Like, I take my own time to do this and whatever. But
you were being honest. So, I mean.
But I mean, really? So yeah, it was great. It reinforced everything. It was about being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it really made that apparent. And everybody was in the same situation. And it really was about that kind of safety, and opening up. And there was no pressure about it. And everybody was at their own level. And after leaving the ranch and you had that time to reflect and seeing that everybody got their own bits and pieces from it, it was such a cool experience.
Did you have that like, oh man, just kind of like almost like that emptiness a little bit? It's that when you leave the ranch and then you go, sometimes it's right when you get home, and sometimes it's when Monday hits and you're like, what? So what now? Because you're used to waking up right early as hell in the morning. You go to where the saloon and the kitchen and everything is, and you have some awesome breakfast because their breakfast is amazing, and you're there with all those people for that time. And now it's like, okay, you're back to life, and where do we go from this?
Yeah, it was a lot of it was, how do you carry that energy, and how do you sustain it, and then how do you bring that energy back? How do you bring it back to your people, and how do you get them to feel what you felt without them being there? And that's the hard part. But yeah, there was instant emptiness. Like, oh my God, we were already talking about, where are we going for our reunion? What are we doing? When are we all getting together again? So yeah, it's a lot. There's empty for sure.
Man. So, Joe, any questions? Any?
I really don't want to talk about Corinne because when I think about her, and Terrie's coming on in a minute, when I think about Corinne and Terrie, who were at the ranch together, honestly, I start crying, because to watch Corinne and Terrie go through the week and grapple with things, um, it was seriously powerful, because you could just watch. You just watch on their faces. They're doing things they don't like. They're doing things that are uncomfortable. They're doing things that they don't do, and they're doing things that, I mean, forget about comfort zone. This is like torture zone. It's like I got to get out of one torture zone and jump into another torture zone, and I guess this is supposed to be good for me, and I guess I'll do it. But shit, this kind of sucks, and it hurts, and it's not me, and I just, I mean, I can't. I think about Terrie and Corinne all the time, and I just think about the big steps they took, and it really, if you want to talk about, we talk about purpose, right? We talk about, what is your life about? What does your life mean? And for me personally, when I think about that, being just having turned 60 years old, I think about that question. And the answer to that question is Corinne and Terrie. The answer to that question is Juliet Brown. The answer to that question are the people that come through the ranch and give my life meaning. People tell me, oh my God, it's amazing, and you're so great. They're like, yeah, forget about that. Not forget, let's put it on the back burner, because my meaning comes from what you do with what we throw out there. And if you come to the ranch or class or academy or whatever and do nothing, then there's no reciprocal feeling. Do you know what I mean? So I get my feeling only after you get your feeling and bounce it back to me. And you guys, countless people at the ranch, just make me so emotional, because there's so many ridiculous things that people have done with their lives since attending. Move on, Ricardo. Move on.
I was just going to say really quick that I feel exactly what you're saying. Every class that I have assisted with, it being an instructor, has been powerful. But this last one in March, it was like every single person put everything in and got a lot out. I mean, you could feel it in the room. I mean, when we were back in the back on the deck recording that little video and stuff, which I'm going to play a clip from here in a moment, even that alone, you could feel it. And as they were talking to each other, I'm there with my phone. I'm like, okay, I can't move my phone, but my allergies are kicking in, like,
Right.
like, oh my God, like I could feel everybody's energy, and it was just that powerful. So I definitely agree. Excuse me. So moving on, I want to bring up Terrie here, and you can see her face. Here we go. Terrie, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Joe, I swore I wasn't going to cry, and I already had one coming down.
You're welcome.
Right. Yes. So for those who are watching or listening, Terrie, a little background on yourself and your public safety experience, and then we'll jump right into what the ranch was like for you.
Okay, so I've been in public safety now for about 24 years, coming up on that. Most of that was spent in another state. I'm now in Texas and San Antonio, work for Bexar County as the assistant supervisor for the fire marshal's office, which dispatches for 17 departments, keeps us on our toes. And the history behind the ranch for us is a couple of my coworkers had been able to go, and they pushed it. They said, the minute you can go, the minute they say we can do it, you got to go. And so I was the chosen one for this past year in 2023 in March for that class.
So you end up hearing that you're going to be the one that gets to go to this. And what are you thinking right away? Because I've only attended as an instructor, so I can only imagine what it is like to be. I mean, because I remember when I was in dispatch and going to a class and thinking, it's going to be the same shit. Here we go. But then, as Joe was saying as well, and everyone's doing the icebreaker, and you get to that first class. I mean, I'm sitting in back, but I can see everyone's like body language, and you can tell that everyone is starting to realize. It's that moment when they realize this is not the usual thing that we're getting into. Like, you're about to have an experience. So what was it like for you?
Leading up to it, I didn't really know anything other than my supervisor kept telling me, I don't want to tell you anything, just keep an open mind. Just keep an open mind. I want you to forget about work. I want you to forget about home. I want you to forget about all your things and just do it. That's all she kept saying, like for weeks leading up to it. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? This is crazy. Like, whatever. She knew everything was stress. Everything's stress. Life is stressful. Home is stressful. Work is stressful. So she's like, I want you to just take these days. You just do it. All right. So I figure it out with another coworker that I don't really know outside of work. So this was going to be a different experience for us as well. Mm-hmm. And so we went together, got to the ranch. I only live about a half an hour, 45 minutes from there. So for me, it was kind of like, well, if I really don't like it, I'll just go home. Like that was always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I took a plane to get there and I'm like, I got my car. I live close. I'll just leave. Right. Mm-hmm. That was how I went into this, honestly, because there's
some leadership for you. There's some good leadership right there.
However, from the first day I got there, it just kind of like I watched this girl standing by herself on the other side of the room, and in my head I'm like, I should go talk to her, but I didn't. We just kind of looked at each other, and neither one of us made that first initial contact until later that day. I think after icebreakers and stuff, and we kind of like, hey, I saw you. And she's like, yeah, I saw you too. And I guess that was the icebreaker that we needed to kind of like get the ball rolling. And it was all uphill from there. All of it was uphill. As much as I cried for 4 days, as much as I basically at 60 years old had this life epiphany because of everyone I met and the leadership classes that were held and the thought processes that went through completely has given me something that I never thought I'd have at this stage in my life.
Damn. That is
Thanks,
amazing,
Joe.
right there.
Anytime.
You know what they say about old dogs. So I didn't think that there'd be much you could change at this point in my life. So somehow, some way, you have this ability to reach through things that not everybody has. That's a special gift you have.
Well, I think the combination of growing up in a big family and being from the New York City area, we just go through the bullshit really fast. But the other side of the coin is it's like, okay, let's go through the bullshit, but let's do it in a way that keeps people intact. You know, I like, well, I'll say this. When we were growing up, people around us, my father was very good at breaking us down, but not particularly good about building us back up. So the one thing that happens at the ranch that I'm really, it's kind of natural at this point, but was developed consciously, was you got to give them the tools to build back up. You've got to give them the space to build back up. You got to give them the headspace, the confidence, the permission to build back up, because anyone can knock anyone else down. But if you actually honestly, sincerely, authentically know and believe that the people in front of you can do different and more than what they're doing, that is actually going to astound them if they get the nerve to do it, then that's what we're there for. That's what the ranch is about. And that's why the book series is called the Get the Nerve series. And it's the thrust behind everything we do is, can I take Terrie? And Terrie, I don't know if you mind me saying this. You said something at the ranch about crying. What was that thing you told us?
That I'm not a crier?
You're not a crier. Yeah. I mean,
crying was bad. Like, I was taught that crying was bad. You were weak.
Yeah, crying was bad. And you spent 4 days crying. You know?
I did.
Yeah. And that's what I want. The other thing with Corinne was we were doing an exercise with one of the instructors saying a word. I think would it start with your initial or something. And we were talking about confidence. And Corinne at the beginning of the week would not budge, I think. And by the end of Tuesday, even when we did that exercise, she's starting to get it. She's like, oh, I can stand up a little straighter. Oh, I can be more of myself. I can define who I want to be on my terms and be okay with it. And I can mourn and be grateful for the experiences that I had in the past, however painful they were, because they are a part of the light that shows me who I am and who I can be and what I don't want to do. And that I'm better than what the environment may have treated me like when I was younger. And I'm better than, and I have a light inside of me. And the challenge is, how do I get that light to shine? Not even as brightly as possible, just a little bit more than yesterday. And that's exactly what I watch you two do. That's exactly why I want to cry when I think about you two. You're so amazing. It was such an amazing week.
Damn. It was very good. And I talked to the both of you while we were there. Corinne, I had a conversation with you, with Hank as well, our buddy Hank Hunt. And we were talking and stuff. And I remember we were sitting there and you go, here I go again. You're like, I don't do this shit. And here I go again. And I'm like, it's all right. Like, this is a good thing. And honestly, I can't remember exactly what it was we were talking about, but it was a powerful moment. And we were just like, we're here with you. Like, no worries. You know, that's what all of this is about. And I think at one point you asked me, like, so what are we going to be doing in your class? And I was like, well, kind of what you're doing now. You might do. I said, because it's a peer support session. It's like group therapy, man. So we jumped into that. And again, that was really powerful as well. Now I want to bring up our last guest here. And then there's a clip that I want to play that I was mentioning, but I'm going to play that after. We've spoken to Tyler. So our next one here. Tyler, what is going on, man?
What's up, everybody? It's so good to see everybody again.
Yeah. So for everyone who is watching and listening, just like everyone else, a brief description of yourself and your public safety summary, and then what it was like for you at the ranch.
Okay. started in dispatch in 2015. As green could get. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. 3 years later, I was promoted to supervisor. I've been in it for 9 years now. And then the next 3 years, promoted to communications manager, and that's the role that I currently hold with our agency. And been through a lot, seen a lot, done a lot of training. And, we all go through those leadership courses and the leadership training and dispatch training, this, that, and the other. And nothing really has, not knocking any of those past trainings or courses that I've taken, but nothing really had that after effect, that linger effect, that that gut check, that reality check, that the ranch provided for me. And I'm just like Miss Terrie. I grew up in a home where you rub some dirt on it and you get up and you keep going. There's no, show no emotion. You just grit your teeth and you put your best foot forward. And then, that's how I was raised. And I had so much fun crying the whole week that I was at the Mayan Ranch in Bandera, Texas. There's nothing in this world like the ranch experience. And I was sold when our director, Miss Kristen, when she was telling us about it, I was sold right out of the gate. She said, you're gonna go to a ranch, there's nothing there, and you're gonna have fun and you're gonna learn a lot about yourself. I'm like, okay. Being a typical Southern guy, a ranch, okay, you got horses, you got a saloon, you got peacocks and deer everywhere. Okay, sign me up. I'm coming.
Did you say, I'm sorry, did you say deer everywhere or beer everywhere?
Deer. You could insert the B there too.
Yeah.
But that first night, I still got a video on my phone. I just kind of videoed the whole entire ranch in its entirety. And I was like, man, I want to live here. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be right now, before talking to anybody. And then we sit down to eat the meal the first night. And then here comes the icebreaker. I'm like, oh, man, I wasn't ready for that. Don't really want to talk to anybody. I'm not a big, I'm not a big outgoing personality. I really don't like people. I just deal with people, and everybody was partnered up for the icebreaker. I had no partner. I was like, I just got out of this scot-free. And then Joe walks in and turns and looks at me and he points. And he tells me to come sit by him, and we have the icebreaker, me and Mr. Joe. And I was like, this is going to be something totally different than I could ever imagine or ever expected. And talking about the karaoke aspect of the ranch, that first night it was karaoke night, and I knew I was going to get on stage. But I was kind of timid and scared after that first day of courses and classes and still meeting everybody. But Mr. Joe turned around and he looked at me, and nobody was getting up on the stage. And he turned around and looked and he said, "Get your ass up there." I was like, and that's all I needed. I think they had to pry me off the stage that whole week, the rest of the time we were down there. But what I took away from that week the most was the real you must battle the resistance you. Mm. That's the keynote that I took away from that whole week, and that's so true. And the wordplay, must battle. Like, the real you is going to battle the resistance you, and we all can relate to that on a whole lot of levels. But that was a real gut check moment for me, and it's something that I'm still dealing with. But it gives you a type of self-confidence and self-awareness that me personally, I don't think there's anything like this across the country that really, you're forced to deal with yourself, and you're forced to be uncomfortable and break those boundaries those walls that you've put up for whatever reason, you have to tear those down. There's no way around it. You have to bust through the wall. And that was that whole week for me in a nutshell. I was just breaking walls and that I had put up in my life. And I've met some tremendous people, still talk to very, a lot of people that I've met at the ranch. I still keep up with them. And it's a magical place. And if you're not ready for it, it'll make you ready for it. There's no
Right, yes.
There's nowhere to run.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't even run home, even if you live 30 minutes away. You can't run.
Corinne, I think you wanted to jump in there.
I do. So, Tyler, I just wanted to mention, and I know you're not aware of it, but I just wanted to say thank you. And I'm not going to cry, but I wanted to say thank you because. Nope, I'm going to cry. But I wanted to say thank you. On the final night during karaoke, you did the song for Hank, and I recorded it. And there's 2 songs that I listen to every day now since I left the ranch. The one that Joe played in the morning on our final session on Friday. So I listened to that in the morning. And then in the evening, I listened to your karaoke song. So I just wanted you to know that I listened to that. And I think the cool thing about it, one is, of course, the way you did it, but 2, you can hear the energy in the room because there were a couple points where everybody in the room was behind you and they helped you through the song. And that is, to me, it was just a moving thing. And that, I think, was the best part of the ranch is we don't know who anybody is, and yet within a matter of, even the first day, second day, whatever, and we're all behind each other. We're from different centers. We're across the country. I could walk by you on the street and not know who you were, yet in this group we all supported each other. And to hear that and to feel that was the amazing thing. So I think that's part of taking, Ricardo, to your point, and Joe, to take this ranch, and what are you going to do with the experience after that's taking it away from here? So Tyler, thank you.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you the backstory to that. The reason why I sang that song for Hank that night. It was just after lunch. The bar opens at noon every day. For those that are not aware, we were. I think we had just gotten back from the hayride. I know me and Miss Terrie went on that hayride. I'm not sure if you did, Miss Corinne.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay. So
yeah,
we just got back from the hayride. And it was still early. It was still early in the day, and I thought it was a good time to go sit at the bar. And Hank was the only one in there. Hank was the only one in there, and it was just after class had just let out for the day, and he had just made his presentation. And I knew about Kari's Law, but I didn't know the reason behind Kari's Law. And to hear it come from that man's mouth, it turned my whole world upside down. And I walked in the bar, and sure enough, Mr. Hank is the only one sitting in the bar. And somebody gave me access to the Bluetooth speaker that was in the bar, and me and him we just started talking about this, life, and he was like, "Do you know that song Where I Find God?" By Larry Fleet. And I was like, "Heck yeah, I love that song." He said, "There's a version of that song that I want you to play on that speaker." I was like, "Okay." And we sat there and listened to it. And I said, he said, I really would like to hear that song again. We were just talking, and I was like, I'll tell you what, Mr. Hank, if you come to karaoke that night, our last night, or if you come to karaoke on our last night here, I'll sing that for you. That'll be the only song I sing that whole night. He said, you got a deal. And there's a verse in that song that talks about hearing her heartbeat. And all I could think about was this grown man's daughter.
Yeah.
And the reason, and all those conversations from that week and meeting all these great people just came full surface, full scale, right back and just hit me in my face. And I look up and I just see everybody, tear rolling down everybody's face. And it was just a wild experience, and I'll never forget it. And it's one that, like I said, I wish I could just live down there. And I've met so many amazing people, and I'll never take it for granted the rest of my life. My experience at the ranch.
That is the power of what happens during that week. And just as all of you have said, I mean, I remember sitting there up front, and Tyler, I remember seeing you kind of break, a couple times as you were singing, and like Corinne said, everyone was just cheering, like we're here with you, and you like you could see the energy that we had go into you, because I'm pretty sure there's one point where you just kind of like jumped back up and you just blew it out of the park. And at the end, it was just Hank got up, and the embrace from the both of you, it was amazing. I don't know what other word to use. It was powerful. It was just everything. And again, everybody coming together, going through those classes, and every single one of you in the beginning, like, shit, we got to talk to people or whatever. But it was just, it happened. Like everyone started clicking with each other right away. And, and whether it be conferences or other things, a lot of times people end up going off with their own folks, and they're gone. They're not participating in anything else. And at the ranch, every single person is there, living through everything. I mean, hell, there was a bunch of us there that got choked out by a snake. And no, we didn't get choked out. I joke.
Just
what
about.
I found out, yeah, the snake, because it slithers, it feels like it's choking you, but it's really not choking you. I don't know. I know it got pretty
That's
tight.
what they claim.
I know. At one moment, I was like, okay, you can take it down. But that's just part of that experience, that everyone is there and cheering you on, and it's just like, that's what we're here for. And it's awesome. And I want to, as we're talking about this as well, talking about these powerful moments, I want to play this clip. So let me pull this up, and then I want to go to, as they're both like, damn it. But it's a good thing. And that's why I want to put this up here. And then I want to go to the both of you to just kind of talk about this moment as well. So let me pull this up here, and the audio should go through. So here we go.
Whatever. I don't even know, right? I don't even know what we can do. There's people here that are like harsh and feeling, but you know what I mean? It's different. Yeah, I know that. Or things I didn't have the power to do before. But now you. Right. Like it's. We can do the studying, we can take on the classes. This is different. Yeah. It really is. I don't even know.
Oh, God. Oh.
Never in a million years did I think that, ever. I am not a hugger. I am the unemotional friend. This.
So there's that clip right there. Whew. Damn, what a moment. And that's just a few seconds of and I'm going to be posting this. I've got just a couple pieces to edit on the full video, but I'm going to be putting it up because the both of you have this conversation, and I I mic'd you both up, and I basically gave you, just kind of talk about your experience and everything, and the both of you were kind of standing there like, how do you want to start this? And then bam, that's how it starts right there. That's the beginning of an 8.5 minute
Oh my gosh.
conversation, and you just both just left it all out on the floor, man. Like you just started talking. So I mean, just I guess some comments from the both of you, like that moment, even seeing it again, like how does it make you feel?
You first, Corinne.
All right.
Honestly, it actually makes my heart so happy to see that again. I've watched it a couple of times when you made it available, Ricardo. And some of it was really hard because, like we've said, I am maybe not I'm not a hugger. I'm not a crier. Those were not things that my single mom thought would make me survive. So those were things that you didn't do. Those were for the weak. So for me that's how I've gone through my life. And I've had lots of friends. I've had 2 husbands, and that's just how I made my life work. Since this experience, I saw this girl. I don't know why. There was just a connection with Corinne that I don't know what it was. It was something that I saw her and I saw myself in her. I literally could look at her and see myself. And it was odd and it was weird. And then we'd go to class and we'd be at different tables, and I'd look at her and I'd catch her glance at me, and I don't know what it was, but there was something that in that moment of our fear, which day one, that's what we talked about, was fear. I think I could see that. And it was the first time that I was able to see myself in someone else. And it brought out, it just kind of like, it made this flower blossom. It made this wall fall down. It made, it actually changed me. It changed me, I think, for the better going forward by bringing some of that out and bringing that out to my attention. I'm forever grateful for having that whatever that eye connection was that we had. I'm forever grateful for that with you, Corinne.
Wow. Can I just say ditto? Like that doesn't work, right?
No.
She really knows how to shift the energy of a room, doesn't she?
Yeah, so when I get nervous, I tend to try and turn into a comedian, and that doesn't work either. What's funny though is, like, there were so many times that I remember in class, like, because the other cool thing about class is like the way the tables were set up, and I don't want to give too much away, but it was always like this thing of like, where am I going to be, right? But there were times where I'd be like, I'd look up and it was like these intense moments, and I'd be like, this is too much. And I look up and I see Terrie, and we just start laughing because like there's tears running down our face. And I look up and I see Terrie, and I'm like, that you're crying. And she's like, no, you're crying. And I'm like, darn it. But the cool thing about it, I think, is, for so long, it's like, and especially in this industry, it's, go through what you're doing. And at some point, maybe it's okay to have this kind of passion for the industry and just be okay. I remember when this clip came out, and the first thing was like, oh my gosh, I'm ugly crying, and nobody's gonna see it, and what happens? And the more you see it, okay, so what happens, right? Like, great, the world's out there and they all see me ugly crying. But you know what? It came from an awesome experience, and I'm 1,000 times better for it. And if I can put that passion into myself and into this industry, and I'm like what I said there, the people that were in this group, I mean, they're doing things. They've already done things. Like, you know, we stay connected. We see them. Like, there's people that have already done things and made changes and are having an impact on the industry. And to see that happen is just so refreshing. And like, that's what we all want, right? We want to see the change. And if that happens, then sure, let people see me ugly cry. Cool, I'll do it again, you know? But yeah, there's a lot. It's a lot.
Corinne,
Yes.
regarding your ugly crying,
Yes.
how many friends did you lose after that clip was posted?
I think I know where you're going with that.
How many people called you to laugh at you or criticize you about your ugly cry?
Well,
nobody. I bet if anything, there's a person or two out there that said, man, I wish I had that ability to release. I wish I could cry in front of somebody or on camera and not care. And one of the things that we say in class is that people are thinking about you far less than you think they're thinking about you. So just go have your life, because nobody cares about ugly cry. And you think it's ugly cry, but that's not how I thought about it. I thought it was awesome. So, you know, it's all this head game. That's where it starts. The leadership stuff, the emotional intelligence stuff, we move from the inside out. We move from where our head's at. We move from our history, our wiring, our junk, and we just try to, you know, deal with a little bit of that and move out to the world. And it doesn't work too well the other way. So I think it was pretty awesome cry. And you two looked beautiful doing it.
Thank you.
Boom. There you go.
Boom. Yeah.
So as we go into the wrap up of this round, which has been awesome to have every single one of you on here to talk about your experience about the ranch. And for anyone who's watching or listening, whether it has been, you know, here now or in the playback or whatever, or in the podcast, because I'm going to add this to this as well. Any questions you ever have, we're going to get to where you can send those here shortly. But yes, so I don't, Terrie, do you want to talk about that? Like, about the name?
I'm trying to remember the specific question that Joe asked the class.
Yes.
As a group. And the question was basically, how many of you think you're a loser? It was in that general term. That's what I remember. And every single solitary person in the class raised their hand. Like, there wasn't a single person that didn't raise their hand. And it left Joe speechless for just a minute. But I can't remember the context of it, but I just remember that everybody, like, he was like, how many of you really think you're a loser? Like, really think you're a loser? And everybody just was like, yep,
everybody.
That would be me.
Yes. And so every ranch, every group ends up having like a private group on social media and such, and they all get a name. And this was it was like the Losers, right? The Losers Ranch or the Losers Ranch group, or something like that.
Yeah, we became the losers.
Yes. And the thing that was awesome about it as well is that afterwards, I don't remember who added it to the group, but they had said, you know, we truly are the Losers group, because I think the way they put it, and I'm just paraphrasing really, because I don't remember exactly how it was. I can't do it justice, but basically what the person was saying was, we lost our fear. We lost, you know, all of these other things that were plaguing us in the beginning. Those were all of the things that we lost, and then we gained so much and came together as one. And I remember reading it. I was like, hell yeah. It's like, that's exactly what that was about. So that was awesome to see that. So again, as we're going into, you know, the wrap up of this and all, For each one of you, because I'm going to ask you this question, I'm going to drop your window down, but please hang tight because I'm going to come back with you shortly after that when we go off air. But I just want to ask each one of you, for those who are watching and listening, what would you say to those who might be thinking about coming to the ranch? Juliet, let's start with you.
Wow, just give me no time to think about it, Ricardo.
I know, I'm sorry. I could have gone to Joe, but he's going to be the last one on here with me. So we'll jump to you, Juliet.
No, I would say just do it. Go with an open heart, an open mind. Don't be afraid to get out of that comfort zone and, be awkward and weird and show everybody who you truly are. I just think back to Corinne and talking about the crying and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people, when you feel like you're ugly crying, they see it as strength and the ability to actually share and express your emotions. So you think at the ranch at first that like people are looking at you and judging you, and reality they're thinking about how strong you are. So if you go with that and try to rip the fear band-aid off, it will be a great experience.
Nice.
Very well said. Yes. And I look forward to instructing with you side by side.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
It's also really quick. It's also kind of wild that like listening to the three of them talk, they all went at the same time. I went 2 years prior, and every single thing that they talked about brought up a memory of the same emotion, but with different details. So it's not like they just had that one outstanding ranch and nobody else had that experience. Like we all have that experience, but with different details if you put in the work.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Very well put. Well, thank you, Juliet. I'm going to drop your window down, but hang tight because I'll be back with you here in a moment. And then Tyler, same thing. For anyone who might be on the fence or thinking about going to the ranch, what is some advice that you have for them?
If you don't have it all figured out, go to the ranch. If you're scared to meet new people, go to the ranch. If you're scared to get in front of the class, go to the ranch. If you're scared to take the next step in your life, go to the ranch. If you're scared to get up in front of people you don't know and sing karaoke, go to the ranch. For me, it's just there's so many different elements that people could benefit from going to this course, this particular training course for leadership. And if anybody ever asks me whether or not they should go, I 1000% would say yes, over and over again. It's an unforgettable experience, and it's something that's going to stick with you, and something that that has that carryover effect into that next Monday when you get back, and now you just want to go back to the ranch, but that the insight that you and the stuff that you take away from the ranch is it'll never go away, and the people you meet are going to be some of the most influential people in your life. So just soak it all in.
Perfect. Thank you very much, sir. It was awesome to have you on here, and we'll be right back here with you as well in just one moment. And going over to Terrie now, same thing.
Yeah, basically all of the same things that they both said, both Juliet and Tyler, but basically just go and have someone else drive so that you can't leave. Like, don't be the one with the car so that you can't leave when you get uncomfortable. If you tend to do that, make sure you have someone else bring you and just stick it out, because it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth it in the end. Just go and do and participate in, as awful as it was at first, participate in all the activities. From the minute they sit you with people you don't know and make you talk about things you don't want to talk about, just do all those things, and it will make a difference in your life.
Awesome. Thank you again very, very much. And I'll be right back here with you as well. And then Corinne, wrapping it up, same question. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's an experience not to be missed. Absolutely. To answer that, Joe, if it's going to be good, it was good. It's worth it. Do it. Be uncomfortable and take that step. Everybody is just as uncomfortable as you are, and you never realize the impact that you have on other people. And while you're there being concerned about yourself, you're making a difference to everybody else. And that's exactly what we're all here to do. And it's amazing that we put that many people in the room and we're all there. And, there's people that they don't realize the impact that they had on me, and they will continue to have, just like everybody just said, they will continue to impact me. Tyler had no idea that I still listen to that song every day, and I do. It's that kind of an experience. And we didn't even talk about the animals. But yeah, absolutely. It's not to be missed. It's absolutely personal leadership. It's about the person on the inside and being able to make that difference that you want to make.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, thank you so very much. And we'll be right back here with you as well. And Joe, my friend, your thoughts.
So as you were going through that group just now, the thing I was thinking was actually part of what Corinne said. And what I want to make sure people understand is that sometimes when we're standing in front of the room, when we're the instructor, when often it looks like we have our act together, often it looks like we know everything, often it looks like we have all the answers. And the fact of the matter is, no matter what the person in the front of the room looks like, they're the same as the people in the seats. They're the same in that they have fears, they have struggles, they have challenges. And the thing that this group today on this session, but also all the people that come to class at the ranch and other places, when they leave and do something, when they leave and change their life, when they leave and get brave, that gives us strength. That gives you guys, participants, by going out and doing things that you're afraid of, bless our lives in addition to your own. And participants may not realize that, they may not understand that on some level, you feed back to us and we're reminded, oh, we are doing some good, because we don't get feedback from everybody, obviously. So it's hard to remember sometimes, why am I doing this? Who's getting benefit out of this? And when you go into that space, you're like, okay, well, I'm just doing this again. It's like, no, people are out there changing big things about their lives. And when you go do something about your life, and especially when you tell it back to the instructor, to whoever your teacher from third grade, whatever it is, that is crazy powerful, because we also have our doubts and we also have our fears, and we also either are in the process of going through something, or we went through the same things that you did. And we can acknowledge ourselves that we've come so far, like Juliet Brown. Her story, I'm thinking a minute ago about when I was her age, when she started this ranch thing and all. I guess she was about 25, 27 years old. And at that age, I was absolutely petrified of public speaking. Petrified. And I had somebody, a boss, who forced me to speak at conferences, and forced me to speak at breakout sessions, and forced me to do, one-man thing in front of 200, 300, 400 people. Scared the living crap out of me. Except I wasn't allowed to run. He forced me to do it. And now 30 years later, I'm in a position where I get to watch. I get to watch Juliet. But it's not just watching. It's Juliet giving me courage to go to my next step. It's Corinne and Tyler and Terrie and all the rest giving me courage to go to my next step. Because you know what? There's some days I absolutely need it. And I don't expect that ever to end, frankly, because it's just a human condition. It's what we do. And the last thing I'll say is if we can figure that part out and bring it into a calm center and be a little bit more gentle and a little bit more compassionate with each other to realize that we're all in the same boat. The details are different. The boat's pretty much the same. We all have trauma of some kind or another. And my trauma may be different than yours, but we run around judging each other's trauma. Oh, that's not a big deal. You should see what I went through. It's like, yeah, shut the fuck up. Don't compare pain. But if we can listen to it and empathize with it, it will change everything. But we start from the inside and we move from the inside out, and that's what the ranch is about.
Very well said, my friend. And I fully agree with what you said about basically how they all fill our cup and what it is that we do. I mentioned this in the group, and I said this in an open mic live afterwards, but that class, this last March, I drove to Texas. I drove because I needed some time with myself, and I needed to think about a lot of different things. And I was basically at a crossroads, and I wasn't sure if I was, I guess, made for teaching, which is stupid to say because I've been doing it for years. I've just never really looked at it that way, as instructing. And everything I was doing and everything we were doing there with that class back in March, that solidified that I was on the right path. And I've been teaching all over the place now. And so thank you for the opportunity and continued opportunity. As I said, I'm humbled and honored to be by your side with the rest of the instructors and such, teaching at the ranch, closing it out, and just being there with all of these amazing people and seeing them go through all of this transition. And I needed it as well. And I am looking forward to September, man. That is going to be awesome. So as we wrap this up, where can people find out about the rest of the ranch, everything that you're doing, the stuff that you teach, the book series, everything that you have going on? Where can people find out more about you, the company, but especially the ranch that we've been talking about today?
Yeah, so the website is joeserio.com, joeserio.com. A lot of you know my company, 360dispatcher.com. You can find 360dispatcher.com goes automatically to joeserio.com. So everything lives at joeserio.com. Ranches, books, classes, keynotes, everything.
Perfect. And social media wise, like everything can be found there as well, correct?
Yeah, probably. Dude, I don't even remember. We're actually in the process of transitioning and developing, and we're going to be launching a bunch of things coming up. Also, take a look at the High Performance Academy. That's going to be the ranch on steroids. Super excited about that. That'll be awesome.
Hell yeah. All right. That is excellent. And we are wrapping all of this up. So I'll be right back here with you, my friend, in just one moment. And for everyone who is watching and listening, thank you so very much for being here, being part of this round. Again, any questions or anything, you can send them. You can go to joeserio.com, or if you have any other questions or anything that I can assist with, you can send something to me as well. But if you have any comments, questions, or you have any topics for the Dispatchers Roundtable, or you want to be a guest on the flagship show, you can simply go to wttpodcast@gmail.com. That is wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media. You can become a supporter of the podcast. The easiest way to do that is to go to links.co/WTT podcast. And that's links with 2 i's.co/WTT podcast. And you'll find everything there: email, social media, latest episode, where to purchase Imagine Listening Volume 2. I'll have an announcement for that coming out soon, but I'm going to be self-publishing it, and it is going to be amazing. I am so excited for it, so make sure to watch out for that. And soon, I will be republishing book number 1 of Imagine Listening, Your Worst Day is Our Everyday. Brought to you by Within the Trenches Media and Code 7 Traffic, LLC. Damn, I'm excited for that. So just wait for that. And you can also be a guest by simply going to that same website, links.co/WTT podcast. There's a button there that you can sign up, and I would love to share your story. I've been doing this for over a decade. It is my passion, and I thank you all for the trust in sharing your stories for over a decade now to the world. Literally the world. Your stories have been changing people's lives and opening the eyes of millions to what it is that you do on a daily basis as the most vital piece of public safety. So check me out there. This can be seen on Facebook, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, X, as well as Instagram. And then you can listen to the flagship show 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. This has been sponsored by InDigital, Leader Next Gen Core Services, and I will see you all in the next one.